Hello guys, welcome back. So, I know what you're thinking. Is this another Monk video, an Elon Musk video, or what the hell? Well, it's not. I mean, kinda. I will explain. But before I get into that, I just want to mention that if you're a Sunder Totem enjoyer, I've not given up on that build. I'm still going to cover it. Matter of fact, I will probably make an updated guide before the new league launches. I plan to league start with that build, and I still believe that it's going to be one of the strongest league starters that we will have, unless some major mechanical changes happen. But yeah, stay tuned for that. So, about this build, I was actually planning on making a bow version of the zero resistance Blood Mage, bow version that uses the gloves, Hand of Wisdom and Action, and Snipe for the really big critical strike damage bonus. But that ended up failing horribly. It was doing a really low damage, and it was actually before Path of Building launched, so I had to make a lot of testing manually and buy a lot of gear and resell it and so on. So yeah, long story short, it was an experiment that went wrong, so I ended up quitting. So your first question is probably, why is this build special? What makes it different than an Invoker or a Javelin Legionnaire? Well, like I said, I built this around Blood Mage Ascendancy, which meant stacking a lot of life. It currently sits at slightly over 6,000 life. In maps, it can get pretty easily to around 12,500 life, which is pretty comfortable. And that in turn gives us around 900% increase critical damage bonus because of Core Spike, which is like 10x critical strikes. So it's really good. This also has zero elemental resistances because it's using Veil of the Night Crown. So that makes it really cheap to gear. The only expensive item on this build is obviously Hand of Wisdom and Action, which when I got them they were around 2 divines for uncorrupted one. But yeah, this is like the most expensive piece of this build. So by now you're probably thinking, oh my god, Veil of the Night, zero elemental resistances. This must mean that it's a really squishy build that probably dies like every map. Not as much as you might think. It has 60% evasion, which is obviously not a lot, but it does help. And it gets really fast in maps to like 12,000 HP, so we can run tier 16 maps pretty comfortably. It actually doesn't really care about any map mod. It can run just about anything. I just alk corrupt and go, actually using a corruption atlas at the moment, playing around with it. So same goes for all the other tier 1 content like simulacrums, breaches, Seth, and all the pinnacle bosses. Doesn't really have any kind of problems. Not really sure if it can go or how high it can go in tiers because I didn't really get to test it that much. But for the tier 1 content, it doesn't really have any type of problem with it. That being said, it does die from time to time. This is not a hardcore build, but at the same time, I think that for most builds under 100 divines, you can expect it to die like every few maps. Now, is this better than a Invoker or a Javelin Legionnaire? Well, probably not, but I mean, it really depends on what exactly you are comparing, because those builds usually assume a really high budget, and it's really unfair to compare a build that has like a 5 divine investment with one that has multiple 100 divines budget. But if we are comparing this build to the low budget version of those builds, I think it's easily at least as good as them. Before moving on, I just wanted to mention that I'm not claiming to be the original creator of this build. This is obviously a really generic stat stacking lightning quarterstaff build that I think most monks play at this point. I think even Elon Musk was playing a version of this build, so it's really not exactly something new. I just adapted it to the Blood Mage and focused around stacking life and of course zero resistances. But one of the first players I saw, or one of the first YouTubers I saw using this build, was actually a guy named Traffic. I will link his video in the description for his Monk ES build. That's like the more cookie cutter version of it if you want to check it out. But yeah, so let's talk about the gear. First of all, the gloves, Hand of Wisdom and Action. like every other stat stacking character. This build uses these gloves. They provide like more than half of the build's overall damage. You can't really make it work without them. I mean, maybe you can, but it's probably going to suck. These are the most expensive piece of the builds. I think I got them for like 2 divines, uncorrupted. You can probably snag a corrupted pair for pretty cheap. The weapon we are using is Pillar of the Caged God. This is going to be our best in slot up until like mirror tier items. The 12% corruption on the weapon damage is not required. You can just as easily use a staff with 3 sockets. Just make sure to socket it with critical damage bonus and not attack speed. Critical damage bonus is a lot better for this build. It actually acts as a more multiplier when on the weapon instead of increase, so just use critical damage bonus, not attack speed here. For the helm, we are using Veil of the Night. This provides us with like almost 2000 life. Without it, I have 4.5. With it, we have 6.3. The downside of it is that we have no elemental resistances, and while this makes us less tanky than it would with 75, it's not as bad as you might think, because having 12,000 constant life in maps usually makes it pretty comfortable to run them. And also the fact that you're not caring about elemental resistances, you won't care on map rolls either when you have minus maximum resistances, elemental weakness, or elemental penetration. All those mods become free mods on the maps, and it really relieves a lot of affix pressure on the gear, making it really, really cheap. When you're buying gear and only care about the life rolls and the attribute stats, it makes gear really, really cheap. Most of these are like between 20 and 40 exalts. That's only because I try to get rarity on them as well. If you're not looking for rarity, you can probably get these every piece for like less than 10 exalts. Same goes for the rings, the boots, and the belt. Max life, attributes where you can't, or chaos resistance. For the amulet, this one was a bit more expensive because I tried to also get spirit as well as melee skills on it. I think it was around 1 divine, but you can get a pretty cheap one without the spirit or without the melee skills. You should manage to get one for a few exalts. For the armor, right now I'm using Warrior Invictus. I actually just bought this yesterday. Up until that point, I was using this rare jacket, which had a big life roll, some evasion, some energy shield, spirit, dex, and int. This is really good. The difference is for about 500 health between them, and of course some damage, because this gives a boost to increased attributes, so there's obviously going to be a damage difference. This item with 5 sockets is around 5 divines, but like I said, it's not really needed. I was playing this build before getting with a regular armor like this one, which is like 20 exalts or something. Okay, and I think that about covers the gear. Oh, I didn't talk about the anointment. So the anointment is Vulgar Methods. This is a really cheap anoint. It gives 10 strength and 35% increased critical hit chance. I mean, this is going to be your best anointment. In certain situations, you can get spaghettification, which might be better, but that's only if you can get against the Darkness Jewel with % strength and intelligence, and you socket it here, and then you will have spaghettification with 7% attributes, as well as 4% strength and intelligence. But that's pretty expensive. It's like 20 divines or so, so yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's about it with the gear. Hope I didn't miss anything. So yeah, so let's go over the skill tree real quick. In terms of ascendancy, we're getting sanguimancy. We have to, but in this build it's actually quite good because we are at double health quite a lot. Gore Spike provides like 900% increased critical damage bonus, which is like 10x crits. It's a really big boost. Grasping Wounds, it's so that when we do get hit, we don't get one shot. And Crimson Power is actually, I took this when I got Mario Invictus because I was using Iron Runes to also boost my evasion, and using this with Crimson Power actually gives as much as just socketing it with life runes. Yeah, if you are using the rare chest, you can skip this node and go for Blood Barbs. It actually just increases your damage by around 8%, but what you can do is actually benefit from life leech and mana leech because of the extra physical damage, so it might help in that perspective. The bleeding is not amazing as you might believe. So yeah, that's in terms of ascendancy. In terms of the skill tree, not much to say about it. It's like your generic stat stacking tree. A lot of strength, some int. For the most part, you want to balance health, strength, and int, even though strength provides a bit more damage overall. Grab as many crit nodes as you can. A difference from the invoker type of build is that we also have to pick up some elemental penetration. Invokers get free penetration from critical strikes. We don't get that, so that's why we also pick up some penetration. And I'm also using a lightning exposure gem, which we will go over in a minute. To make these nodes easier to pick up, I'm using a controlled metamorphosis diamond. If you're picking this up, just make sure it's exactly medium large ring for the radius. And yeah, I also got some more crits. And the mental toughness is a quality of life. It helps with mana gain, with sustaining your mana. In terms of other jewels, I am using some Grand Spectrum rubies, which I got in like week 1. I don't know what the price of these are right now, but they are, I mean, you would probably be better off just going with regular rare jewels that have critical hit chance, critical damage bonus. These are around 20 exaltas each or so, and they provide roughly around 5% extra damage each. I would just go with these, no need to bother with the Grand Spectrums. Yeah, that's about it for the skill tree. I will also link a path of building in the description. If you have any questions, let me know, not a problem. Yeah, so let's move on. So I think this just about covers everything about the build. I hope this video sparked an interest in you to at least try out this version of the build. I know zero resistances can be a bit intimidating, but trust me, it's not as bad as you might think. Also, there will be a link to path of building down in the description below. If you have any type of questions, feel free to drop a comment. I will gladly answer them. And also, any type of feedback regarding the video, the build, or the channel itself is much appreciated. If you found anything in this video that's useful to you, I will also appreciate if you like and share the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching the video. See you next time. Bye.